Good morning, S1 student. I'm Mr. Bوجمعة Lekouy, Professor of English at the Multidisciplinary Faculty of Untitled. I'm your Professor of Study Skills subject. Okay, I'm going to teach both groups A and B. So the courses that I'm going to deliver online here, they are devoted and directed for all S1 students concerning the study skill subject. Of course, we are going to briefly and concisely introduce the courses that we are going to shed light on and concentrate during the courses that we are going to see collectively. Okay, so the name of the subject is called study skills. So the first question that may come to your mind, what is study skills? So study skills mainly refers to all the needed and required skills and all strategies that are so effective, so practical for new and fresh student at the university to deal with courses and with lectures, because they have been now introduced to a new lectures and a new academic environment in which all students are obliged to cope with these new demanding of the new subjects and new courses. Of course, the name of the subject is called study skills. So why study and why skills? So skills, automatically this name or this noun means all the needed techniques and strategies, tips and tactics that are so helpful, so practical and so effectual, so efficacious in coping in a very adequate way with the new courses of English at the Department of English and at the university in general. So skills are very needed for what? For learning, because students now are learning and are engaged in a very long process of learning new subjects, new concepts and new theories and new theoretical backgrounds, and all students are in dire need to be equipped with new strategies and tactics to effectively interact with the new demands and with the new requirements of learning at university. So skills for study and skills for learning. So generally speaking, I'm trying now to introduce, generally speaking, the main points and the main courses that will be concentrated on in order to give a brief and a very panoramic view concerning the courses that we are going to deal with in study skills subject. So because I know the fact that the students now are in the first contact with the new academic environment, now they have transgressed from the high school to university, and university means a new learning environment. It's new at the same time, it's totally and extremely different. The exam system is different, the learning process is different, totally different from what students had seen before in high schools and middle school and so on. Okay, now we are going to start with the main guidelines or the main directions that I'm going to focus on during my lecture. So to help students and support their own learning process, to make them and to make students effectively dealing with the new subjects, especially in S1. There are like 7 subjects in S1, starting from reading comprehension, paragraph writing, spoken English, grammar, and guided reading, which means reading short stories and trying to the first contact with the literary courses like analyzing short stories and analyzing novels. So students first should know how to deal and how to interact with these new subjects. So study skills course or study skills courses provide students with certain mechanism and with certain tactics to effectively grasp and deduce the main requirement and the main teaching productivity from the other subjects. So now let's start with the first one. So study skills requirement or study skills courses are highly needed and very crucially required for S1 students. This is why we are going to focus on some skills. Okay, the most important skill that we are going to focus on, of course, there are a variety of skills, starting from speaking skills, writing skills, listening skills, and reading skills. But to take the needs or the urgent need for S1 students to be equipped with certain theoretical background to interact effectively with S1 courses, I have opted for this direction, which means we are going to focus on writing skills, because most of the exams will be written, and students should know how to write, how effectively the exams, and how to take certain elements when they are taking their own university exams. So in addition to these writing skills that I'm going to focus on, I'm going to shed light on some reading skills and time management skills. Why reading skills and time management skills? Because according to my own perspective, I think these are what you call the basic of learning new English, because we have to give students, we have to provide students with certain mechanisms and strategies and certain effective and practical strategies to develop their own learning process and to empower students' mind to deal effectively with these new requirements. So one of the main objectives of the study skills is that trying to make students or the new students at university working well, making them successful learners, confident individuals, responsible citizens, and effective contributors. Why? I'm going to illustrate later, because the needed skills that I'm going to shed light on are very efficacious for the new and fresh students to develop and empower their learning process. I said that I'm going to focus mainly on writing skills, and in writing skills the main skills that will be concentrated on are the following. So we will be starting with summarizing skills, how a student should summarize adequately the text, means summarizing techniques, starting of course with some theoretical backgrounds and guidelines and some useful instruction concerning how to write a summary assignment. And immediately after, the next course it would be how to take notes or note-taking strategies, because note-taking is fundamentally needed, and all students are obliged to take notes during classes in order to grasp and catch the main important element in lecture. And I'm going to see to distinguish between two types and two different note-taking, starting from taking note from class or from lectures, from oral communications, from oral lectures, from seminars, from study days, or from conferences, and what are the main tactics and elements and useful tactics that students should discover and explore to write effectively, and to make sure that they will not miss any single and a very tiny detail of any lecture or spoken lecture. And if you want to take effectively your notes at the classroom, the first requirement is that the students should pay attention in the class. If you want to take notes effectively in the classroom, automatically you have to pay attention to the professor, to the spoken lecture. Because in lecture, all professors are explaining, illustrating, and giving certain details, moving from theoretical background to some some practical backgrounds, and all students have to pay attention and to write notes or take notes from the lecture. Of course, taking notes is not an easy process. The students should be enlightened with certain mechanisms and certain tactics that in order to make it easy for them to write effectively notes. Of course, moving to something important, these are very small details in the classroom, but they are highly useful and very, very, what we call required for making students effectively interacting and learning from this new academic environment. So the first one is that something related to note-taking, because now I'm talking about the writing skills. So the writing skills or the study skills, academic writing skills, there are some what we call writing strategies and writing skills, tips, like starting from what summarizing, note-taking, paraphrasing, quoting and referencing, and all these are needed to cope not even in the classroom in study skills, but also with other professors in other subjects, in S1, S3 and S5. And these strategies are, I think, cannot be overlapped because they are so important and so significant within students' learning process. So now to start with the following, or the first writing skill, which is very significant, note-taking. So note-taking, how to take notes, and what are the methods, the very successful methods that students have to explore and discover if they want to take notes. So the first thing that you have is that you have to keep your notebook very organized, well organized, because organization is one of the fundamental requirements if you want to make yourself a very effective learner within this new academic environment. Moving to the second thing, which is asking questions in the classroom. If you want to maximize and empower your own learning process, if you have to interact actively with the professors and with your classmates and in the classroom or in the lecture theater. So in the lecture theater, students have to interact actively with the professor. How? By listening effectively and reacting to students and to professors' questions. So the classroom interaction is very effective in empowering and sustaining and supporting the students' learning process. So without interaction, maybe students will get confused, maybe they will suffer from other what you call troubles, maybe they will be daydreaming in the classroom. So automatically the interaction with the classroom, okay, is a very successful strategy to keep students focusing and concentrating on the objectives, on the professors' expressions and statements in the classroom. So if you want to make your brain and your mind ready to learn and to grasp and to take knowledge from the classroom, so this is the two fundamental tactics that students should take into account. So these two tactics should be taken into consideration because they are very significant for empowering and sustaining the students' learning process. So keeping organized notebook and asking questions in the classroom. So the first question that may come to your mind, how can I keep my notebook very organized and well structured? This by writing dates and writing the name of the professors writing the titles of the lecture and writing the name of the subject at the top of your note card. So this is very important. Now let's move to some other strategies that are very efficacious for students' learning process, which means now students have to manage and control their own timing. How they can control their own and manage their own timing by making certain things. The first thing that they have to specify the study time, which means they have to make their own personal timetables or personal schedule. And the personal schedule should be divided in 2 or 3 parts. The urgent tasks or the most important tasks, the less important tasks, and the minor tasks. And they have to make a kind of balance between their own personal activities and professional or public activities. Of course, now we have this study time. Study time is very important in students' life. So students have to specify and locate in a very adequate and exact manner the right timing. So the right timing is crucially required for students' learning process. So if you want to locate and to choose your own right timing, you have to make certain personal investigations. You have to ask yourself, what is the right, what is the practical timing for me? Am I going to study in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, at night? So you have to use your own personal and suitable time that will be so effective for you. Okay, now study skills courses, one of the main and one of the biggest objectives of study skills is that trying to make students very independent learners, because now they have started learning and they have started working in a new academic and advanced environment. So this academic and university environment is totally different, is extremely different from the high school and the other, which means now they have to take into account the new demands and the new requirements for this new environment. So study skills courses provide students with tactics and some techniques, useful techniques to be independent learner. What does it mean to be an independent learner? So an independent learner is the one who is learning, okay, by him or by herself. So starting by what we call reading, independent reading and independent writing. So now independent learners. So the following are characteristics, means the features of successful students. So the first one is that if you want to learn, if you want to make yourself an independent learner, students have to ask these questions. They have to start asking questions, because asking questions is the first and the initial step to find answers. So without questions, automatically you cannot try or strive to find answers. So if you have questions, if you have some confusion in your mind, of course these factors will powerfully push you to find answer and automatically will lead you to find answers. So the next one is that since you are an independent learner, you have to ask with your friend, you have to make collective or meetings, okay, frequent meeting with your classmates, with your friends who have the same specialty, and you will discuss with them certain notions and certain theoretical knowledge that are directly or indirectly related to the subject that you are going to learn. So if you have some confusion, if you have certain obscurities, if something they are not clear in your mind, so you should ask your friend friend, and maybe your friend will answer or will give you the right answer. So this is what we call the collective learning, and the collective learning, of course, is very important and very significant within this process. So the third one is that the students, so if they want to make themselves ultimate independent learners, they have to look for the new learning environments. They have, for instance, to go to visit libraries, to read books, to read articles, to help themselves discovering and learning new vocabularies and new expressions. So these all some of the mechanisms that are and parameters that will define what is an independent learner. So here at university, students are responsible for their own learning. So ideas should be learned, new strategies should be discovered, and new things should be ultimately explored. So students should learn, explore, discover by themselves. And since they are independent learners right now, they should not only rely on the professor's lectures. They have to look and investigate and read and analyze things outside the classroom, and they have to ask questions. They have to meet frequently with what you call with their own friends outside the university, at university library, or outside university at any library. So they have to meet and they have to discuss things together. Yeah. One of the key factors in determining the effectiveness of students' learning process at university is the study timetable. Why study timetable? So study timetable, as I have said before, students have to manage and control their own timing, because timing is very important, it's very crucial within the students' university lives. So you cannot organize, you cannot learn effectively from the classroom, from university, if you have certain travels, if you are suffering from time problems or time troubles, and if your time is not controlled. So the first basic requirement for the new and fresh students is that they have to organize and control their own timetable. How to control your time? So the first question that may come to students' minds: how can I personally organize my own timetable, my own timing, my own personal timing? Sometimes you are suffering because there are a lot of activities, and these activities can be classified into main parts: the personal activities, and the practical or the professional or the public activities. So sometimes you cannot establish this kind of parallelism, a kind of a balance between what is personal and what is public. And sometimes there is what you call a certain clash between what is between your own personal requirements. So now timetable. So timetable is crucially needed for new and fresh students. Why timetable? Because in timetable it's a kind of schedule in order to control, organize, and machinate your time. Macchinating your time means you have to make your timetable rule in your life. So how should a timetable your life? So the first thing that you have to do is that you have to prepare your own study timetable. Of course, it's a matter of habits. In the Moroccan context, sometimes we have these problems concerning timetables and respecting the appointment, or respecting the guidelines, or respecting the timing. So the first thing that students have to be aware of is that they have to write a timetable, personal timetable. And of course, the personal timetable should include the following: of course, the days of the week and the hours, and they have to define exactly the studying hour in addition to 3 hours. So, and in their own table, the timetable should be beneficial in terms that the students have to locate only the important activities that will sustain and support students to study effectively and to study efficaciously within university. So students have to, within this timetable, there are of course some parameters and some criteria, very important and very significant criteria, in order to help the students to write a very clear and a very organized timetable, starting with study hours, moving to free time, and moving to what you call different personal activities. So some characteristics and some features of the timetables, which should be kind of what you call, as I have stated before, the timetable should be based on a balance and a parallelism between personal life and public life. Okay, moving to something very important, I said that the timetable should contain the most important activities and the most important or the urgent ones. Moving to the second one, there are other tips or other strategies or other techniques that are very of paramount importance within student life, especially the fresh ones. So this depends on timing, like for instance, like if you have like now in S1 you have 7 subjects, so students should divide their own timing equally between the subjects. 1 hour for reading comprehension, 1 hour for paragraph writing, 1 hour for spoken, grammar, and the other subjects, which means they have to divide their own timing on a very logical, division between all the subjects. So another important thing that the timetable also should be frequently revised, which means that students have to edit, add the most important or the urgent tasks that students have to do, and they have to distinguish between these urgent, most important, and the minor ones. But the most crucial thing here is that students have to abide by their own personal timetable. Another strategy or another technique that students have to discover right now, which means the study sessions. The first question that you have to ask yourself: how do you study? Where are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? Study has 3 parts, so organizing subjects and citing, getting ongoing day-to-day work and assignments, and researching and revising work for the exams. So here students should be aware of what are they needed to do and what they are asked to do. So here students have to keep this balance between reading, revising, editing, and what we call researching, because now independent learners, I have this said before, an independent learner means a researcher. A researcher for what? A researcher means the one who is searching, investigating, and looking for data, looking for information in order to widen the scope of his or her own mind. Moving to some other tactics, like do not oblige yourself to make long session. You have to, I said before, to make a variety of activities in one day. When you have like free time, students should enjoy their own selves, making sports or and other things. But it is important that they have to focus only on their own study, but they have to find some free time for what? For their own personal activities. And sometimes you have to, it's a very, what you call efficacious strategy. So you have to write assignment when you go back to your home after an online lecture. Students should write summaries and assignments. So summaries of the lecture. So after you have taken notes in your classroom, so when you go back to your home, you have to write summary, because at the time what you call the students have what you call certain fresh knowledge and fresh data, fresh theoretical background that they have learned from the lecture. So the other things we have to do is that sometimes we have to be aware of this. So some tips, I said that before, so to highlight them, so we have the study time, personal activities, and timetable. So timetable is very crucial and is very important within this. So moving to something very important to learn and to empower your learning process is that you have to write, record, take notes from every lecture. So whenever you attend an online lecture, students should take notes, should write down the most important things from the classroom. Okay, since we are talking now about how to organize effectively your timetable, dividing what is personal and what is public, what is professional. So the first thing that students have to do, and they should take into account that they have to prioritize their own options. So how? By asking these questions: what are your favorites, and what are you going to do, and what are the urgent, what are the most important tasks. So in timetable making, when you make your own personal timetable, please take into account that you should take into consideration the urgent tasks, the most important tasks, the less important tasks, and the tasks that are not important, they are useless, and they are minor. And automatically you are going to eliminate and delete them from your own personal activities. So to make things clearer, you have to write weekly your own timetable, depending on daily or weekly timetables according to your own activities. So the first thing that students have to prioritize study. Of course, the most important things here in your own age, in your own context, is that students are obliged 100%, totally obliged to study and learn in order to achieve their own dreams. Because if you are organizing and controlling your own time, this will help you to determine effectively your short-term objectives and long-term objectives in order to avoid this kind of what you call clashes and struggle within your own personal life. So something that you have to do is that always you have to do at the right time what is you are asked to do. Okay, do not delay things tomorrow or after tomorrow to the day after, because all these procrastinations is a very problem. It's a very dangerous problem. It's an obstacle that may hamper and what you call stop your own efficiency within the learning process. So the next thing that we have to do is that also you should make a certain effective planning, because a timetable is a personal planning, making plans, okay, what you are going to do in the morning, in the afternoon, and at night. So you have to be very specific, and you have to divide your own activities and tasks according to certain logical factors and mechanism. Okay, now of course, S1 students are going to take the written exam at the end of the semester. So they have to start working from now, okay, and counting down to the exams. Means there is an exam at the end of the semester, so students have to work from now. They should start organizing, learning, and applying or applicating the new things, the new knowledge that they have grasped and that they have learned so far in their own study. So what we call studying at university needs a lot of strategies, a lot of tactics and a lot of techniques and a lot of vital what we call mechanisms to study effectively within the university environment. So the study skills courses generally, as I have this stated before, are going to provide students with certain guidelines, instructions, and certain directions that are vitally needed for S1 students to deal effectively with the new subject. So what I'm going to do here in these online courses, so this is only the introductory one, informing S1 students what are the main topics and the main points and the main titles that we are going to focus on. In addition, that there will be a kind of concentration on writing skills, reading skills, and time management skills. By the way, there is a booklet of study skills for both groups A and B, and it can be found at the libraries near the faculty, and you can start reading the booklets. So we are going to focus more on three skills: the writing skills, reading skills, and time management skills. So in writing skills, students are going to be introduced to how to write effectively, how to write academically, and how to produce certain academic paragraphs respecting the authorship, respecting the certain academic requirements like quoting, like referencing, like differentiating between what is summarizing and paraphrasing. What is paraphrasing, of course, what is the importance of summarizing, and how can I use these writing skills to produce a very qualitative and highly qualitative and very crucial and well written piece of writing which respects the academic guidelines. So to achieve this end, I have decided, okay, based on my own experience with last students, students now should be introduced to academic writing. How to academic writing by knowing and by exploring the basics, and the basics are the following. So students have to distinguish between what is note-taking, paraphrasing, summarizing, and quoting and referencing. So these writing skills are very important and significant within the students' academic lives, and they should explore what is the difference between note-taking and between summarizing and paraphrasing. So in writing skills, as I have said before, we are going to focus on this: how to write effective summaries, how to make a good note, how to make good note strategies, how to write good notes, how to paraphrase the text or the statement or something like that, and how to quote, means how to make a reference to the things that you have taken from different resource materials, from different articles or from different books or from different online sources, which means you have to establish certain academic faithfulness and academic loyalty. If something is not yours, you should not steal things from other sources and you will claim this is mine, because you have to be so honest. This is what you call the academic honesty. So you have to state where did you take the data or the information or the statement or the sentences from. In addition to references, so when you are discussing or writing paragraphs, sometimes you are in need to support your own topic sentence. So to support your own sentences, topic sentence, students should support the argument by bringing arguments and bringing factual materials from other articles and other either digital or printed materials. So in addition to this, students should know how to make a difference between short essays and long essays. So the second important skills that will be discovered in this study skills course are the reading skills. So how to read effectively the text, how to benefit from what you are reading. So in reading skills, students are going to know and are going to explore the different and multiple techniques of reading and multiple strategies for effective reading. So starting from reading techniques, students are going to explore the differences between quick reading and slow reading. So in quick reading, they have to know what is skimming and skimming, in addition to what we call the deep and slow reading. Whereas effective strategies for reading, like students should know the adequate environment, and students should avoid certain distractions and certain disturbance, and how students have to be focused and concentrating on what they are reading, how sometimes the context or what you call the environmental context plays a vital role in determining the quality of the reading process. So at the end, the last lecture or the last course will be revolving around how students should use their own timing very effectively, and how they should machinate their own timing in a very efficacious way, in a very practical way, take into account different what you call criteria, different characteristics, and different things, different features that are, and of course these are different characters or different features that are very involved and very involved within the learning process. So students have to be aware of these needed skills. Even sometimes they look like very simple. Even they are very simple, they have crucial participation and crucial contribution to the success of the students' learning environment. So now moving to something else, this is what we call the panoramic view, the most important courses and titles that study skills is revolving around. So what I want to say here that of course you are a student, but at the same time you are a human, and this does not mean that you have to only focus on your own studies and devote all your time, your full time to studying and so on. What is more important is that any students has to make a very flexible, a very what you call practical timetable and very efficient time division to accelerate the students' learning process. So thank you. So in upcoming online course, students are required to write the first lecture in the booklet, and the next lecture will be on summarizing skills, how students should summarize effectively the text, the book or the article, of course dealing with different texts with different sizes. Okay, so thank you very much and see you later.